everyone, it's Lauren Kinghorn, Inspiring Mompreneurs, and today I'm with the lovely Francoise Hernert, or Fran, if Francoise is too difficult for you to pronounce. Fran is in France, and she's a conscious parenting and transformative coach. So I'm going to let her explain a bit more about what that is all about. Fran, welcome.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Thanks for inviting me in today's podcast. Thanks for being here today also for those who are listening. So I partner with mothers to walk through the jungle of parenting and life through a transformative and conscious parenting coaching program. So what does it mean? It means that I work with overwhelmed moms who are struggling in teaching their children the best lessons and values, and who are having difficulties communicating to create a strong relationship with them, while at the same time wanting to be a successful and accomplished woman. And my vision is to help change this world one child at a time. So it's not something small, it's something big, but it's so much necessary. So how do I envision that? Well, by helping mothers be happy as accomplished women and moms, while being a role model in order to raise confident and happy children. And at the same time, I have another work where I help cosmetic distributors to develop their business in Asia.
So which company do you work with?
So I'm working with companies that are not known from the retail industry because it's in B2B. So that means only beauty salons and spa. So most brands are not seen in the retail store. They will be seen in the beauty salons. Okay. And usually it's small companies who are trying to develop their business, to expand their business in Asia, because there's still a big market. So it's more difficult for them compared to big companies who are already implemented in Asia.
Oh, amazing. So you're a very busy mom yourself.
Yes.
You've got two sons, haven't you? How old are your sons now?
Yeah, the first one is nearly 21 and the second one is 16 already.
Okay. And when did you start the cosmetics business?
At the starting point of my working life, because I was in the cosmetic industry. That's what I chose at the beginning. And I've gone to the top of the ladder of the corporate world in the cosmetic industry in Cambodia. And then because I had to move to another country for my son's school, I decided to become a consultant. That's when I decided to do other things on top of the cosmetic industry.
So how many years ago did you become a conscious parenting coach?
Already nearly 2 years. Yeah, 2 years.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And do you mostly work one-on-one with people when you're doing the coaching, or is it a group program?
Yeah, I can do both, but what I'm seeing is that change happen more in one-on-one, because in one-on-one, the mother is more daring to be vulnerable and to really go deep in what needs her attention. So yeah, shifts happen quicker and better with one-on-one.
That's good to know. And what made you start this business then? Because you already obviously had your cosmetic business, and I understand going consultant freed up a bit more time. But was there another reason that prompted you to start a coaching business?
Yeah, so in fact, I realized that when I was younger, I always loved helping children. I like to help children to be a leader. And afterwards, when I became an adult, I like to help adults. And so this was already an inborn gift that I had, but it was never developed. It was there, but not developed. And that's when I realized that, wow, but I'm not using this gift. And when I heard my children share what was happening in the school with other children who had difficulties at home, who were not well, and also my children expressing their pain, and especially when you go in teenage years, oh wow, they can be very, very challenged. So seeing and hearing all that made me realize that, wow, in fact, there's so many things that happen in the childhood. And if the children are not yet confident in the childhood, how can they be confident as an adult?
Yeah.
Especially one of my child went through bullying, so it affected his confidence a lot. And also, if you have bullying from a child, but it can also be bullying from an adult, it can be also lack of caring from the parents. There's so many things that are involved. And all this builds the personality of the child, and of course impact the adult life and the confidence of the adult. And then when he becomes a parent or she becomes a parent, well, we either reproduce or we do the total opposite based on what we took from this childhood and how it impacted us.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely being witness of what's happening around me. And of course, hearing a lot of mother being overwhelmed, stressed, tired, not living at the end, because sacrificing so much for their children because of their belief that they have to sacrifice everything for their children. And it started by me, because that's what my belief too. So it's because I went so many, how do you say, stories with my children and in my life that it made me realize, wow, ticking the box of society, we have to have this, and go up, up, up. Well, I tick all the boxes. And then what? Does it guarantee happiness? Does it guarantee money? Does it guarantee security, stability? No, because you can be derailed straight away in 1 second, whatever may happen in your life, through your children, through your spouse, through your corporate job. So many things can happen. But are we ready? Are we strong enough to be able to navigate around all these challenges? And we can see it with the pandemic, a lot of trauma from all sides, from children, from babies to elderly are impacted by that. And I strongly believe that if the foundation education was given at an early age, well, they would be able to handle this pandemic and all the consequences, what I call collateral damages, much better than what they're still going through.
Yeah, so it's about resilience as well, it sounds like. It's about weathering the storms of life and having that confidence to do it. Is that right?
Yeah, there's many things, in fact, inside. And when I do workshops, I have the question, how heavy is your backpack? And how heavy is your child's backpack? So what does it mean? Well, it means that when we're born, our backpack is usually very light. Okay, of course, there are some genetic factors and all that. But then our parents or society or at school, whatsoever, is going to put stones that are going to get heavier and heavier. So what does a stone represent? It can be very tough childhood, bullying at school, trauma at an early age. There are many things. So then the backpack becomes heavy. And then you start adult life, and then you have other things coming. It can be from the corporate world, it can be a death of somebody, and it fills up the backpack. So in conscious parenting, well, the parent become conscious that, do I want to load as much as possible, or do I want to try to unload some stones that the child may have during his childhood? So it's really being conscious of what we're doing, how we're doing it, what's the impact of our childhood on the way we raise our children. There's a lot of factors. And many adults have a heavy backpack already. Yes. Many adults.
Wow. So say now you have a mom coming to you, an overwhelmed mom, and she's willing to do the work of conscious parenting, but her husband is not willing to do the work. How do you work with a couple like that? Do you do family counseling as well, or do you just work with the person who's willing to be a conscious parent?
So I work mainly with mothers and mothers who are ready to do the work. Because if they're not ready to do the work, like everything that you want to achieve in life, if you're not ready to commit, then nothing will happen. And it often happens that the spouse is not wanting to do such work and not even accepting that there's a problem in the house. So being in denial. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to impact the child if there's only one parent. No, because the child is observing both parents. And then we have to trust the child that at one point or another, the child is going to understand that, okay, who is the role model I want to follow? And what is it giving me? You see? So in this case, the mother must not doubt that even if she's alone, it's not going to impact positively her child.
Okay.
Because it will. The mother is planting the seeds. Whatever happens in the family or with another spouse or with another sibling, the mother is planting the seeds. Now, what is the child going to do? Or is he or she going to water the seeds or burn the seeds? We have no idea, but we have to honor the fact that we're trying our best for our children and we're doing the right thing that we think is right for our child. Is it right? Does the child think it's right for them? Of course, they are too young to understand that. And they also have their own character, and the definition of right can be very different from one person to another, but at least be in alignment with what is important for the mother. And that's part of also the program, is working on the values, working on what is important for the mother and living by it and showing it to her child. So it's
wonderful.
very deep.
So it's very much working not only with the mother as a parent, but her as a whole person. And so helping her to be a better parent by also caring for herself, because we're getting right into the depth of it, but I haven't really asked you to give me a definition. So let's do that. What is conscious parenting, if you want to put it in a nutshell?
Yeah, so I would say that conscious parenting is a term used to describe a style of parenting that usually focuses more on the parent and on the impact of mindfulness on the parenting choices. Okay, so it's rooted in a combination of the Eastern style philosophy, but also the Western style psychology. Because there's also, coming from the Eastern part, the mindfulness that we don't have so much in the Western side. You know, here, for example, in France, they will straight away go and see a psychologist because they believe that everything can be handled by a psychologist. But in the Eastern style, they will not have this automatism to go and see a psychologist. It's a different way of living. So it's a very good mix, a balanced mix between both sides. But most simply, conscious parenting asks that instead of striving to fix your child, and God knows we all want to fix your child because we all believe that our child has a problem, whatever the problem, and we need to find somebody or find a way to fix a child. So instead of doing that, we ask the parents to look inward at themselves and focus on which role model they want to be for their children. So, because usually parents believe that their priority is to spend all their money on fixing their child or finding the best schools or buying them everything. It makes us feel good. I mean, we've all went to a toy shop or bought something for our children or even a candy or whatsoever to please our child, right? We all went through that, and we believe that that's important for the child. And it makes us feel good because the child is happy. But is it essential? Is it the priority? I don't say it is not important, but is it what we remember from our childhood? Do you remember what our parents bought for us? Do we remember the tutoring? Do you remember the best schools where our parents may, if they had the money, to put the money inside? I mean, my children take it for granted. Best schools, everything is granted, you see. So they don't see that for us it's very important and that we're investing so much money. And on the other hand, what do they need the most? Is it where we spend a lot of money, or is it the time that we're spending with them, what we're teaching them, how we're showing up as an adult, as a confident and joyful person, how we see life? Or are we always worried that we have to work so hard to get money to pay the bills, to do this, to do that, and be stressed, and show them that, well, it's okay to be a stressed adult, to be able to pay everything. You see? And how many are we in this trap, running after this never-ending race? but this is not the most important. So that's why conscious parenting brings you in another place where, okay, what's essential? What do I have to
Wow, good question. What's essential? Yeah. What do my children really need from me? But sometimes that can be really difficult for parents, because you get one parent who is maybe stressed out about the money side. So I think, for example, just in my own relationship with my husband is that stressed person trying to make the money, to make our lives work. And he believes that he needs to have us at a certain standard of living for us to be happy. And that's his journey as a parent. So yes, he is stressed, and more stressed than me, because he takes that stress from me. So I'm able to be a more conscious parent. I'm able to be mindful. In fact, for the first few years of my child's life, I was able to completely be there for him and not work at all. And I think my husband would be happy if I never worked, so that I could just totally be there for my child. But then when a child gets older, they don't need you to be there for them every minute of the day, because they need some independence. So you can't be their best friend and their everything. So you also need to let them go and show them that you have a great life and you have things you're interested in. So there's always that balance you're trying to strike, right? But now I feel for my husband now, because we're almost pinning him into that pigeonhole of, well, you're the guy who's going to make the money and take on all the stress so that I can be a conscious parent. I have the luxury of being able to give my attention to my child. And maybe that's what's happened in this century, or maybe it happened a century ago, because less and less is that happening. Many more mums do have to go to work now. And we're in a world where we're needing two parents to have jobs, to keep this lifestyle, as you say, to sustain a certain lifestyle. And that is taking a lot away from the child. And is that kind of what you're seeing? Are you mostly seeing parents where both parents are having to work, and you're working with a mum who now is having to work and look after a child?
Yeah, I believe that in one way or another, a mother who's not working will have issues, and a mother who is working will have other issues. Because when you're not working, you also have some type of guilt of, oh, I'm not doing anything except taking care of the house and the child.
Housework is work.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there may be in the back of the head, because of our education, how a human being is seen. The human being has to be successful. So what is the definition of success? So the mother who's not working may have other issues, being, say, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom and I'm not developing my gift. I'm not developing myself. I'm just taking care, even if it's a hard job, it's really a hard job to be a mom, either working or not working. For me, it's equal. It's really hard, because when you're working, you can give the child to somebody to handle the crying and everything, not wanting to sleep, not wanting to eat. So it's another struggle. So there's struggle, I believe, on both sides. But bottom line, the mother is still going to have some questioning and feeling overwhelmed in both ways, and feeling some lacks, you see. So that's why it's so important on both ways. It's so important to work on this guilt, because she will have a guilt on both sides. Guilt of having stopped work completely and not being able to be a successful woman like she wants to be, or being guilty that she doesn't have enough time because she's working, so she doesn't have enough time to take care of her kid. So there's always something, and it impacts the behavior of the mother on the child, because of this frustration that you may have deep inside, and unconsciously makes you react to your child's behavior, makes you react to your spouse's behavior, makes you react to different things, because unconsciously something is triggered. You see?
So there's always going to be something to work on. Yeah. And yes, overwhelm is definitely there. I agree with you. I see it. Moms are overwhelmed. And whether you're working or not working, it's an overwhelming job to care for a house and children, and making sure the husband's happy, the child's happy, the home is done. Yeah. there's always going to be something. So there's probably always a need for somebody to see a conscious parenting coach, because very few people are able to just get this stuff naturally. We need a few lessons, right? So if you were seeing somebody, what would be your number one lesson that you would want them to know that would maybe turn things around for them? So let's say, for example, they have a child that's in trouble right now. So the child is depressed. I see a lot of it, especially teenagers right now. Teenagers are in trouble since COVID. I see the younger children seem to be coping better than teenagers. But say now there's a teenager, very depressed, maybe even suicidal. Is that the kind of person that you would see, a parent of a child who's gone into depression and they don't know how to reach them?
So you have to understand that there's two things. The child has some needs and the parent has some needs. Both have needs and issues. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the case of having a depressive and suicidal child, it needs a special care that the mother cannot take over because it's a specialist. Okay, so all depend on the degree of the issue with the kid. Okay. Then the same for the mother. I cannot say that the coach is going to replace a psychologist depending on the trauma of the mother, you see. But what conscious parenting is really making the mother understand how her behavior, her vision of life, her well-being is going to impact the child's behavior, whatever the level of where is the child at. So for example, if you have a child who's depressed and all that, and the mother is unconsciously showing her stress to her child, worried all the time, how do you think the child is going to connect? Because he's going to feel, and you know, children, we don't have to talk much. Children, they feel everything. They're observers and they can feel if we're happy, if we're not happy, if we're worried, if we're stressed, they can feel it. So how is the mother showing up based on the child's behavior? Is she joyful, excited, hopeful, always stressed, worried? And at the end, the child can see it and the child is going to say, well, my mother is not well, so how can she help me? You see? So then putting distance because the child is not seeing the help because he's not feeling that the mother is in a good place. So that's why coming back to consciousness, being conscious that, okay, how am I? How is my life? How am I seeing life? My life and my children issue, whatever. Because we all have issues, but it's again a question of energy and focus. Where are we putting the focus? And usually mothers, honestly, we're always worrying, right? We're worrying all the time of what may happen. So for example, let's say you have a depressed child. And what if he's going to commit suicide? And then you cannot sleep at night, right? Because the mind is going everywhere. So I'm taking this example, but it can be any other example. Your child has bad grades. Maybe he's never going to succeed in life. And then you start spinning. Maybe he has a problem. Maybe this, maybe that. And then you think what? You think that your body and energy is going to be positive and hopeful and understanding, or is it going to show up negative energy and of course more stress? So every time there's a small thing, you're going to burst and shout and be impatient. We're human beings. So beings mean feeling. So feeling means how are you feeling internally? And how is it showing up with your interaction with your children? Are you putting oil on the fire? Or are you putting sunshine and hope? In your life?
Okay, so that's a really good indicator of how you're helping your children. If you are showing up joyful, excited, hopeful, that is going to help your child be able to deal with his own emotions when they come up, his or her own emotions. But if you're stressed, worried, and getting upset all the time or quick to anger, you know that it's time to start seeing a coach to help you with your emotions. And how do you help people with those emotions? If I've got emotional stress, I will use EFT. tapping to help me release and shift those emotions. Is that something you use, or do you have other ways that you work with people?
So yes, there are many ways. Okay.
Yeah.
On my side, what is the quickest way in the moment is the breath. But it starts by being aware that we're triggered. That's why it's a deep word, because why are we triggered? This is the first thing. Why are we triggered? And then how does it impact our reaction? Am I going to shout straight away? Am I going to cry? Am I going to escape? So being aware of what's happening when you're triggered. Right. And then when you're aware of what's happening when you're triggered, okay, what can be the solution in the moment? You can say, for example, if there's a child shouting and everything, okay, I understand that you're feeling not well, and I'm okay with it for you to express your emotions and cry or whatsoever. I'm just going to go in my bedroom until you get back to balance, you see, and if you need me, I'm there.
Okay.
But we have the tendency to want to fix everything. Oh, my poor child, stop crying, or changing the focus. So, but the child has to express their emotion. I don't know if you saw this video of a small baby of 2 years who was crying, and the father was just sitting next to him and observing the child crying until he had no more energy, and he slept on his father's lap. So the father was there to witness the child having big emotions. And it's just okay to have big emotions, because that means that we need to release them. Of course, and as an adult, it's not good to shout all the time. But when we start shouting, then, okay, wait, I'm triggered. I have to show to my son that the solution, or my daughter, is not shout back, whatever happens. So be conscious in the moment. Take some deep breaths, because breath helps the emotions to regulate instantly.
Right.
As
so
long as you're aware. Yeah. So it's quick, it's fast, it's easy to remember, easy to do, and has fast result.
Right. And then
but
just
it
be
starts
clear.
by being aware. If you don't have the awareness, how can you do the exercise in the moment, in the heat of the moment?
Exactly. That's fantastic advice. Oh, the moms must be loving this. This is wonderful. I looked at hand-in-hand parenting when I was newly a parent, and I don't know if that's something you came across, but they had some really good tools as well that I think it probably is conscious parenting, I suppose, hand-in-hand parenting. So, for example, they had this one thing: if your child is out of control and they're upset about something, and maybe they've acted out on that, so they've smacked another child, and you see that happening, you give them special time. So you just go and sit with them. You don't talk about what they've done. You don't try and unravel, try and get them to apologize. You just understand that in that moment, they need to feel secure, and that their brain has gone out of control, and they need to feel safe. And anything you do now in terms of punishment is going to make them feel even less safe. So if you go and spend special time with them and they feel safe, they'll be able to, normally by the time you've spent a half an hour with them, they're ready to, of their own bat, go and apologize, because they now feel safe again, and they're in a better space, and they're ready to be friends with that person again, or whatever. So I don't know if that's something you've come across and also have seen work for children.
So in fact, if we're coming back to we're human beings. They have their triggers too. So when a child, a sibling triggers them, it's something that they do not understand yet, but it creates a reaction. So because they don't understand what they're doing, they're just overacting in crying, in shouting, in hitting. Something triggered them. So as you said, we want to fix straight away the problem. Apologize, stop crying, change the focus, so punish or whatsoever. But as you said, they're not in the right place, because they're in the emotional part. And when you're in the emotional part as an adult, or if you're an adult or a child, you cannot think. It's either one or another. So that's why the breathing helps you to calm down your emotions and start thinking about, what am I really doing now? I'm shouting. I should not be shouting. That's why we have the guilt after we're shouting. You see, we all have it. after shouting over children. But in the moment, we don't have it because, no, I have to shout. I have to express myself. I'm not happy. So I have to just express it. But by being aware, conscious, and this will come because you're a role model for your children too. So they will understand with the time that, okay, when they have something, how can they do? Because you're going to show them, okay, take a deep breath. It takes time because depending on the age of the child, it also is different, right? You cannot teach the same thing for the children. But yes, totally not in the moment, not in the heat of the moment. Your peace or the child's heat. Emotion has to go down.
So you could teach them breath work as well. So you could actually, as they get older, you could just say, okay, we're going to take a few breaths and see how that shifts the emotions for them and allows it to dissipate. Great. Nice. Very nice tool. Thank you. So, whoa, we've talked a lot about conscious parenting. Let's hear a little bit more about you as well. So we know why you started your coaching business. Any highs and lows you want to share with us? What has been your highest high and your lowest low since you've started this work?
So let's start by the highs.
Okay.
I'm definitely now working with passion and purpose. It is my fuel, whatever the challenge is. Okay. The highs is I also witness the impact I have on mothers and their children. That's definitely motivating.
Wow.
And also along the way, I'm meeting amazing people, and especially mothers, because, you know, when a mother decides to work on herself, wow, instead of only focusing on her child, wow, it's impacting 2 human beings, or maybe 3, or maybe 4, or maybe the whole family.
Sure.
Because we know what is the impact of a woman in a family. It's foundational. I'm not saying that the husband is not doing anything, but look at all what the mother is doing every day.
Especially for the emotional wellness.
For the children and for their spouse. Look all the impact on everything versus not doing anything or versus doing the minimum. So being witness of that is really amazing. I'm really happy.
Can you give me an example of someone? I know you can't use names or anything like that, but one example of someone whose life changed from doing the work with you and how it changed for her children and her.
Yeah. So she came regarding a problem that she had with her son, and she was worried about her son's behavior, and that she was putting more and more distance because she could not handle her son's behavior anymore. And so she was describing, my son is doing this, my son is doing that, I don't know how to do, I'm getting more and more distance from him. And one day she gave me a special example. She said, yeah, he's coming to wake me up in the night. I don't like it because I'm going to be very tired in the daytime and I have so many things to do. So that was her focus and her priority, seeing how the child's behavior was impacting her life. And then I asked her a simple question, but what do you think your child is trying to tell you through coming to wake you up every evening during the middle of the night? And it took her some time before she understood what her child was trying to tell her. The child was just trying to tell her, Mommy, I need you, but I don't know how to express myself. And when she shifted the focus, that her priority was how she was going to feel in the daytime because of not enough sleep, and seeing that, wow, her child is asking for help and she's rejecting the child. And then understanding that the more she continues rejecting the child, the more it's going to create distance between the mother and the child. And the child has only this, even though he's 11, is the only way he found to show his mother that he needed help. So I said, just imagine the fact that your child doesn't come anymore and you can sleep well and everything is okay in the day. But then whenever he has a problem, he knows that he cannot count on you. And she started crying. No, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. And then she started seeing her child's behavior with totally new glasses. And she started to see her focus about herself in a totally different way. Because at the end of the day, we mothers, what we try for the most, what we want the most is to have a strong connection with the children. That means that no matter what happens to them, they will know that they can come and see us. They can come talk to us. And we can try to have a discussion, but at least we know what's the word of our children. How many children are silent? How many children are not sharing their life, their ups, their downs? We have to question ourselves.
Sure.
Why?
Wow.
And if that's what we want, what do we want as a mother at the end of our journey with our children? What do we want? Do we want them just to be successful and happy and no communication and then everything is okay, you know, the superficial thing, or really we really want a meaningful relationship even when they're adults?
Beautiful. I got goosebumps when you were telling that story. That was amazing. Yeah, sure. And so the difference in their relationship now, so once she'd made that shift, how does the relationship look now?
So she was totally stressed, and she was stressing her children, and it was creating disconnection, and she didn't like it because she was seeing it, but she didn't understand why. And when she understood why, and she changed her focus every day and understood what is really the priority in her life, then she saw her life as a global in a different way. So for example, she was telling me, okay, I'm a perfectionist. I like to have bedroom tied up, home tied up. But now, you know, Francoise, it's okay. It's okay if the washing is not done because I'm spending time with my children. Because at the end of the day, am I going to remember that my home was always tidy, or am I going to remember the time that I spent instead with my children, and then build good memories for my children? So then, yeah, this is a huge shift because we are conditioned to do and remove. Okay, I did the washing, I did the whatsoever, I did this, but how much time did you remove? Quality time did you remove from your life with your children? Are they going to remember the washing and the tidied house? Or is it going to stress them in the future that they will say, oh, my mom was so much after me regarding clearing my bedroom and all that. And that's the only thing they're going to remember, the stress that you were giving them about whatever were your priorities versus quality time that they spend with you and role modeling that you showed them, you know, and what is really important.
But that brings up a problem in my mind because that housework doesn't go away. You still have to do it sometime.
Yes. So I mean, time management.
Yeah.
You reorganize your time. Because you cannot be with your children all the time. But then you have to decide, okay, is it the right time for me to spend some time with my children, and I can do this at another moment instead of doing this, which is less priority, less priority. So then it's a question of time management. Of course, you know, even in the corporate life, you have a lot of things to do, but what is essential that you have to do in the day? What do you have to do now, and what can you do later?
Right. Good point.
And also, Lauren, we have the tendency to do everything.
Yes.
But if we educate our children, you know, we can ask for help too. But instead, we have the tendency to say, no, it's okay. I'm going to do that. It's going to be quicker if I do it myself. But is it helping our children? Are they then going to learn how to wash, how to do this or how to do that? Always a question of choice.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's about saying, rather, let's do this together. We've got half an hour. In half an hour, if we do the housework together, we can get it all done, and then we can go and do something wonderful together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
I mean, there are basic things, but I remember when I was hanging the clothes with my parents.
Yeah.
And for me, it was quality time because I learned something and I was doing things with my parents. It was not, my parents were always asking me to help them to put the clothes on the line and to remove the clothes. But yeah, now I know how to put the clothes in the line on this and that. I know how to do things because I did it with them. Right. So I remember it as a fun time, you know.
So that was good parenting and conscious parenting. Of course, it really helps to have had very conscious parents yourself. I think it must be a lot harder for parents if they didn't have very good parenting role models themselves.
Totally.
Have you worked with people who have told you that their role models weren't good and now they don't have a clue?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stories, sadly. Mothers who reject their child because they wanted a boy instead of having a girl. Mothers who allow the father to beat the children. mothers who were, or fathers who were alcoholic, and the impact on the child. There are a lot of stories coming from childhood. And of course, all this developed fear and lack of self-esteem and trauma. And that's why the first part of the conscious parenting program is to dare to be vulnerable, because you have to remove all what is under the carpet in order to be able to build on a strong foundation, saying that, okay, this is what they did when I was a child. They didn't know any other way at that time. It's very hard to accept. They didn't know any other way at that time in the moment, how to cope as a parent. Maybe because they were beaten themselves by their parent. Maybe because their parents were drunk already. So, you know, they can reproduce. Maybe this was the only way to show their anger and frustration from their childhood. But that's the only way they found when they were a parent. So now, are we going to keep that on our shoulders and let it pull us down, or are we going to let it go, which is very hard to do, to let go the past and rebuild for ourselves and for our children in a different way, because we don't want to reproduce that for our children, right? We don't want that. Who wants that for their children?
And so have you been able to help people in those situations? Because those are radical. I mean, those are huge things to overcome. And like you said, you've really got to do the inner work. Have you been able to help those kind of cases really become totally different parents to what their own parents were?
Yeah, especially a mother who had alcoholic stepfather who was always beating her, and the mother was accepting to see that.
No protection.
And so she ended up leaving the house at 16 years old because she could not stand the house anymore. And so she had to spit it out. So it was a lot of sessions of crying and spitting it out, and then realizing that, wow, do I want to keep this burden and keep it as a secret for my children, and show up not the true self that I'm meant to be. And again, it's a question of realization. Everybody has different stage of realization. It's never the same. And it's a question of readiness. When you're ready, wow, it's awesome, because, you know, it's like the lotus was completely closed, and the lotus becomes open, and the mother realizes that, wow, I have so many gifts, I have so many things that I didn't explore, and now I'm ready to blossom for myself and blossom for my children.
That is amazing.
Then stress goes out, you feel much lighter, much excited about being a parent and solving issue in a different way. And of course it shows on yourself and on your children.
Oh, I can just imagine how amazing it is to be in your position and see those changes and see that person opening up like a lotus flower. That is incredible. The most fulfilling work that we can do is to help someone else fulfill their lifelong desires, isn't it? It's amazing. Yeah.
We only have one life. So do we want to live always stressed, worried, and running after a never-ending race, or do we really want to appreciate every day of it with no regrets? It's a choice.
Absolutely. Wow. That is stunning. I don't even know where to go from there. We've talked about the highs. Have there been any lows for you that have been really tough?
Yeah, whatever the business that you're developing, the beginning is always slow, especially if it's something very different. And for me, it was very different from being a CEO in the cosmetic industry in a big company in Cambodia, and wanting to do the shift and going in transformative coaching and conscious parenting. So even though I'm living by passion, and this is really the fuel every day, because like everyone, I do have obstacles. I do have to learn things that I never experienced before, because I'm an entrepreneur and all that, and especially in a niche which is very different. And so there are some lows, because you feel like, oh, I'm doing so many things and I do not have the quick result that I want. And we know we want everything quick, like the phone, like the remote control, everything with a click. But it's not like this. So I would say that, yes, it takes a lot of time and energy to start a business and have yourself known. And it's hard at the beginning to develop your brand visibility. It takes time. But then when you start coaching more and more mothers, then you have the word of mouth, and because the results are there, you see, and this is really valuable and much quicker than the starting point where you're starting from scratch.
So it's gaining that momentum now.
It's like, going to the gym and wanting to lose weight. Does it happen in 1 month? No,
yeah, exactly.
It takes time. And how many people are just giving up because they're not seeing the speed result that they're looking for, despite being so tired and sweating and all that, and going to the gym. So I believe it's the same thing. It's there for a reason. Consistency is key, and believing that we are going to have the result based on the efforts that we're putting.
Yes, and I would imagine if you were CEO before, you must really miss having a team as well, because now it's just you.
Yes,
and you don't have your marketing team, or have you hired people to help you grow your business?
Totally. So at the beginning, I did everything by myself, and I was seeing that it was taking a lot of time. And, like everyone, we have things that we like and things that we don't like so much. So, of course, the motivation is not going to be the same in doing the things. So there are some things that I outsourced. Like, for example, for my website, I worked on the creative part and all that because I like that. But then all the technical part, I outsource it. The same for doing some special ads or whatsoever. I don't want to spend 5 hours or 1 day doing something that I'm not a professional on. So I'm going to outsource it. And then, it releases pressure from your side and say, okay, it's part of investment in growing my business. And you really take the notion of time. Where do I want to put my time? Am I willing to spend so much time in doing something that can be done in 1 hour by a professional and just pay the amount for it, but at least I have more time to do other things where I'm really professional at? So it's, again, time management and making choices.
Amazing. Wow. So you've really found a way to be in your zone of genius. You've discovered that this is your purpose, this is your passion, and you are choosing to live on purpose and in your passion all the time. That is amazing. Wow, you are really that role model that your children need. It's awesome. So in terms of your work-life balance, do you have any daily rituals to make sure that you are still keeping the mom side going and the business side?
So balance is definitely very important. Of course, if you want to be a very high-paid woman, there's no shortcut. You have to give much more time in the work and really very short time with your family. That's not the choice I made. As long as I decided to become a mother, for me, my children and my family was going to be more important than the money. That doesn't mean that I didn't want to be happy in my job, because I was very lucky to be able to go to the top of the ladder, and ended up managing 160 staff. So it was an amazing experience. And on top of that, with different nationalities and in a different country. But at the same time, I had my boundaries. So I know that there was a limit for the work time, and then a time for my children. And I was not bringing work at the house because it was the time for my children. And if I had to choose between the work and the child, if my child was sick or whatsoever, well, I was ready to remove money from the day I was not able to take, because my children were more important than the money. But again, it's a choice, you see. So it starts with boundaries, and then based on what is important for you, and being okay with it, instead of having the guilt that, oh, wow, I'm not working enough, and what is this person going to say? No. Oh, I detach myself completely from it. I remember when I was 25, my boss one day said to me that it's only 6 o'clock and you're leaving. And I said, well, my job is done for the day. I did what I had to do for the day. The rest can wait tomorrow. And I stayed on my position, because when you know the efficiency of your work, what's the point of showing that, okay, I'm going to stay longer? Because it's going to make me show myself as a better working employee. Who says so? You know how many coworkers I had who were not working efficiently but were staying late because it was good to show to the boss? So for me, that was not my way of working and not my way of seeing life. I work hard for the time that you have, and then when it's done, well, it's over. The rest will wait tomorrow because my family is waiting for me. I have other things to do after work. It's a decision, but it's clarity also. How do we want to see our life? What is important in our life? If we want to do our life based on what others are saying, seeing, doing, it has never been a priority for me.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Wow. I love your strength. That is incredible to be able to say that to your boss at the age of 25. That is amazing. And also to be so clear that you had been efficient and got through your work and you didn't have to stay. It was also amazing. Wow. I love that story.
When you show that to your children, because I'm telling these stories of my life to my children for them to understand that, well, whatever your age, you're allowed to say what you think, as long as you're in alignment with deep inside what is important for you, your values. It's okay to be yourself and to just be honest. Are they going to like it, not like it? It's okay too, you know, put some distance from that. So it makes you much stronger.
Exactly. And being immune to what they feel, it doesn't matter as long as you did the right thing for you. I love it. Yes. You're not a people pleaser then.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I definitely need to work on. Your message to the world, you've said so many amazing things today, but do you have a message that you like people to know?
I would say dare to be your true self, because that's the starting point of everything. And we have piled up so many layers based on, as I said, childhood, education, that a lot of people cannot see anymore. What are their gifts, their inborn gifts, what is important for them in life, because they just follow the movement. But again, we only have one life. So dare to take the time to think about what is important for you, how you want to live this life, instead of running a race every day. And then at the end, you're going to end up regretting that, oh, wow, I never took the time to just pause and look at how I want life to be for myself as a person and as a mother, you see, and how do I want to show up? What do I have to develop to shine like a lotus? Yeah, to be able to open this lotus and see all the gifts that I have and blossom during all my life. Yeah.
Beautiful. That is amazing. And so your advice for new entrepreneurs. So let's say somebody else wants to get into coaching, because that's what you've moved into, out of corporate, big change.
Yes.
What would be your advice for them?
So first of all, to go into coaching, you have to want to spend time with people and to help people and to listen, because coaching is a lot of listening more than talking. It's not telling you have to do this and that. This is not the real definition of coaching from the ICF, International Coach Federation definition. The second thing is be patient. And there will be a lot of obstacles, for sure, because life anyway is made of obstacles. But obstacles are there for a reason. They are there to make you understand that there's something for you to learn about yourself. What is it? Do you have to learn another skill? Do you have to change the way? Do you have to find other people to help you? The obstacle has a meaning. So instead of seeing the obstacle as, oh, wow, maybe I'm not capable. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe I can never achieve the dream that I want. Maybe whatever there may be, doubting. No, change the focus. See the obstacle as a way. There's a great book that I love, which is called The Obstacle is the Way. And it's so true. So we believe that obstacles are there to go backwards and make us doubt that we're not capable. But no, I teach my children that whatever the obstacle they have in their life, find the reason why it's there. What do you have to learn from this obstacle? So it triggers their thinking, because I will not give them the answer. They know. They will find it by themselves to see what is the obstacle trying to tell them. Okay, they had a bad grade. Okay, why do you think you had a bad grade? Is it because you didn't understand? Is it because of you were stressed? Is it because of that? Okay, now what do you have to learn from this bad grade? How are you going to do next time? So for example, my son came back and he didn't understand a question in the test, so he was completely stressed out during the test. And I said, okay, is one grade going to harm your life? Are you not going to succeed as being a doctor because of this grade? And he looked at me, he said, no way. Okay, so what's the point of thinking about it? It's only one grade.
Let it go.
Let it go. Yeah. And learn about it. Next time it happens, what other ways do you have in the moment if you don't understand the question and you're going to see that you're going to have a bad grade? Is it worth getting stressed? So by asking a lot of questions, you push the person to go deep inside and find what is meaningful and what is the best way for them.
Wonderful. So how did your child get over that bullying incident? What did he have to learn? And how was the obstacle the way for him in that situation?
Well, yeah, the bullying, like all bullying, they have the tendency to close up. So not share anything because they believe that they are the problem. If they're bullied, that means they are the problem. And it took some time before my son could express that. But I saw it through a behavior. He didn't express it openly, but he had a behavior towards his brother. And through this behavior, I questioned myself. I said, I never saw you do that. How come you're doing that? And he started crying and he said, yeah, you know, I have this and that at the school. And I said, oh, wow. Okay, then I understand. It's his way of manifesting his pain of what he's having at the school. So then he expressed everything, what was happening at the school. And I said, okay, if you wanted to stop, we have to go and talk to the school. No, I'm going to have more problems. I'm going to have this and that. I said, listen, you know, bulliers are usually doing that to one person, but not only you, other children. So do you want to be a hero? And through your behavior, have other children stop their bullying too, because they don't have the power to go and talk about the problem, or you wanted to continue? And then, so he was 10, 11. And then he said, okay, let's go. And then in one day, everything was solved.
Wow.
All the bullying with the other children were stopped.
Wow. Amazing.
So then how did my child feel in this moment? Wow, he took back the control. He managed through his decision to stop the bullying, because I needed him, right? If he didn't express what was happening to the school, nothing would have stopped, because they needed the witness. They need to understand who, when, what, where. And then they had an approach according to that, and everything stopped.
Amazing. And he became the hero for himself and for the other children.
Now he understands that when there's bullying, when he's witness of bullying, then he knows what to do because he was in this place. If he's going to just be an observer like other children, or is he going to do something about it? So usually he goes and see the child who's bullied, and he's going to tell his story for the child to become a hero too. So it starts by communicating with the parents. But if the parent is not in the right space and not available to talk, well, the child is going to keep everything, because don't expect the child to go and see the stranger. He will prefer to talk to a parent. But to be able to talk to a parent, he has to feel in trust with the parent. And to be able to feel in trust, well, conscious parenting has a lot of impact.
But if he could find someone he trusts, like his teacher, or if there's someone that child can go to that's in authority who can help him, that already has solved. Totally. So sad that it may not be the parent. But in some cases, children do have to find someone else that feels safe.
Yes. And sometimes it can be a brother or sister, sometimes it can be a friend, sometimes there are other ways. But sometimes the child believes that he's alone, and that he's so afraid that he has to keep his secret. And then the damage in the adulthood are terrible, because they keep this memory. So it's a serious issue that mothers have to really be aware by observing their children's behavior. If they see that the children's behavior is changing, is moody, they have to go and look what's behind. There's something behind. It may not be only bullying. It can be bullying pressure from a teacher. It can be that, because this is also
Yes.
bullying. You're a stupid boy, you're never going to succeed, and this and that.
Sure.
That's another way.
Exactly. Wow, you've given us so much today. Fran, thank you so much. It's been really amazing. Is there anything you would like to end with to feel that this has been complete?
I would say trust yourself and take the time to pause on what really matters in your life and what is important for you, instead of just running after your to-do list and how you have to show up in this world. So yeah, take the time to pause and
Wonderful.
also appreciate what you have, because we have the tendency to always want more and more and not appreciating all what we have in this moment. And we have a lot of abundance, whatever the type of abundance.
That is beautiful. Thank you for those beautiful words, and thank you so much for your time. This has been an amazing interview, and I'll get it published as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Oh,
And thank
absolute
you for listening.
pleasure.